Voices of CS, Episode 5. This episode is a little different. Today we're stepping into the world of law, and we're joined by three alumni who have found justice in their own unique ways. They've stood in the same corridors, worn the same uniforms, and somewhere along the way, found their ways to courtrooms, client meetings, and corporate boardrooms. We are so excited to be speaking with Ms. Rupikaa Srinivasan from our very first batch, Advocate Dhanya Dheekshitha from batch 2, and Ms. Hiranmayee R from batch 3. Let's dive into their journeys, the questions, the choices, and the legal world beyond the textbooks. You were among the earliest students at CS Academy. What were you like back then? And what do you remember most about who you were during those years? I'd love to hear from each of you.
Um, so uh, I was the very first batch. So it was more like the school was growing with me. Like, they were also learning new things and I was also learning new things. One major advantage that I got out of that was that school helped me discover who I was. I was into everything, sports, extracurriculars, this, that, you name it, I was there. And of course, school played a huge part in it to let me be that way, let me explore who I was. Like if I was starting to incline towards sports, they were like, okay, go ahead, like let's do it, 4 to 5, let's focus on it, like you should be on the school team. They supported me that way. And then I was also doing a lot of comparings, hosting events, like organizing events and like oratory skills. So all of that as well, like schools what supported me. So back then I feel like I think my mentality was just exploration, like exploring each and every avenue that I got. So I think that's who I was back then, and that's how the school supported me as well.
Well, it's nice to hear that. Hiranmayee or Danyaka, do you want to share?
Either way, it's fine.
Yeah, you can go. You're the second batch, so
I was about to say that. It's going to go in seniority order. So as far as I remember from school, so one thing that I realized is back in CS, we were very motivated. Whatever you want to do, you can go and approach. We want to do like a student organized event. All you had to do was go tell that. And when I shifted to college, I found doing things easier because, if we put a stall, we had to submit a portfolio. And we had so many portfolios. In fact, when preparing for this meeting, I was going through my Google Drive. I found all those assignments that we did in like 11th grade, 12th grade, and I realized that nobody does it. Nobody knows how to put together an entire portfolio and to prepare something scratch to end when we entered into college. But I found it so much easier because of the amount of I feel like school gave me more exposure than college because we were motivated into so many things. We were thrown into so many things. I mean, half the time we didn't have an option also. We were like, you go do it, you go do it. That's how it happened. So I realized that the basics of how to approach something was laid down back in school. And it has helped us. So even though in school I might not have been very happy about being doing all these things, later I realized it actually has fructified into good habits or like into mannerisms in which I approach a problem. So, and I remember having fun at school. So, I can never really blame that part. I'm very glad that I had fun at school. So, only when I moved into college, I realized that this is not normal schooling, that normal schooling is vastly different. They're like academics, you have to mug up and everything. I'm like, that never happened in our school. We all had to write keywords, that's all. So, it was more like concept based rather than just like read everything and this just reciprocated on the paper. And of course, I had good friends who I still am in touch with today. And since we are in vastly different fields, it's easier to approach people. Your sister was also my classmate. So the moment I saw you switch on your video, I realized, okay, this is Sushma's sister.
Yeah, she was talking about you just before the interview.
Okay.
Hiranmayee, can you shine on?
yeah, sure. So, just like how they said back in school, I'd also describe myself as someone who's always like curious and eager to learn, not just within the four walls of the classroom, but like much beyond all of that. I was the kind of student who genuinely enjoyed engaging in class discussions, participating in debates, like questioning light left center and all of that. So I remember being deeply involved in these writing competitions, public speaking events, MUNs, and definitely sports. And anything that gave me a chance to explore language and like expressions. I used to also love doing plays and all that. But I was also someone who valued the structure and discipline that school taught us. I always liked having a plan and I worked hard to follow through it. But what stands out the most to me is though it wasn't just academics, it's the relationships that school bonded us with, the bonds with my classmates, my mentors, my seniors, my teachers, and everyone that I can think of at school. I think CS Academy really nurtured that balance between curiosity and responsibility. It gave me that freedom to explore ideas while also holding back the high standards. That's something that I'd always like to carry on with me.
Okay, so that's such a fun mix, hearing how some traits stayed exactly the same, others completely transformed. So it's nice to imagine younger versions of you walking down the same hallways as we do now. So let's move to the next question. Were there moments in school, whether from subjects, classroom discussions, school events, or even a single teacher's words, that shaped how you think, gave you confidence, or planted the seeds for the values you carry today? All of you can share your thoughts here.
I wouldn't be able to like particularly point to a single teacher because that's so many people I have like they've just changed my life in so many ways. Like be it being like so many people right from my sixth grade is when I joined CS. There were so many people at each stages of my life that contributed to who I am right now. Apart from teachers, but one thing I would like really stuck to me is something that our executive director said to me was that like she literally said like you do you like and like we are here to support you. So that gave me immense confidence to like actually step out and like do whatever I wanted to. And that just like translated into like who I am right now. Like from school to college, like Danya and Hiran mentioned, like it's a whole different world that you step out into, right? So in school, like you're protected, it's everyone around, like it's all the teachers, like the students, everyone is the same people, and like them, like you've literally grown up with them. But once you step out into college, it's a whole new world, and like unless you have that courage, the ability to like socially mix, like you won't be able to handle it. So I think each and every teacher of mine throughout my schooling has taught me various values that I still carry today. And of course, without fail, the courage that our executive director gave is what helped me step out in the college and now into my profession.
Thank you for sharing that. Who, Danya ka, Hiranmayee ka,
There
who
you go.
wants to go
There
next?
you go. Okay. So I cannot like pinpoint as to this is the mentor that like gave me an impression or something, because one thing about school was like we had a rapport with every single teacher we had. Like all mentors I had were very friendly. They were all approachable, and different people teach you different things. Like so many different things from like how do you put it? So one of my favorite things that I still repeat to date to people that I know is Lissy ma'am used to say, slip of the tongue is not the fault of the mind. Who judges is very unkind. So every time I slip up and then somebody points out, I say this. So there are certain things that stick with you that even if you make a mistake, you can correct it. So in that aspect, I feel like all mentors that I had, like class teachers, subject teachers, everybody I had were very motivating. They were all different. Surprisingly, they were all extremely different in their personalities, but they were all approachable in their own way. So they gave me sort of this confidence to approach different kinds of people. Like because each personality is unique, you sort of learn to balance how to like handle people, like how they'll react and how you have to go about it, all those things. And apart from that, like all mentors that we had, they had something to say about the way we have to do things, like the manner in which it was never the end justifies the means. So the means, every teacher had their own view, and they used to try to at least impart it to us, and certain things stick to us. Like just like I said, like Lissy Thomas ma'am used to have these phrases, and then Kausalya ma'am had different phrases for lethargic people. So sometimes even today when I see like things like this, I immediately go back to the phrases that were used, and strangely I still use those phrases. Like frequent phrases that are being used, I find it in my draft, and then I realized, okay, this has stuck to me back from school. So in that manner, yes, our mentors really had a big role to play in how we are going to do things and how we put it, and the phrasings, the words. I find so much relatable content in like everyday things that I do. And it's hard to pinpoint a single staff as like a good mentor because they were all approachable.
Yeah, thank you for sharing it. I can easily relate with you because even my teachers are like that, always supporting. Hiranmayee Akka, do you want to continue?
Yeah. So when I think about school, yes, there are several moments that come to my mind. It's like flashing memories. But one of the most powerful things about being in school was that you don't always realize when a moment is going to stay with you forever. Like you're just creating memories that's always going to be with you. And there's nothing that's going to relate to those that you actually got from school, like be it college or work or anywhere else in your life. School was always that one precious little thing that you'd like to cherish forever. It might be a passing comment from a teacher, a project you worked on like really hard for with all your dedication, or even a conversation with a friend during break, or like bunking classes and all that. But for me, some of the most defining moments were in class when I used to like make fun of teachers. The teachers used to make fun of me, and then it used to always be a two-sided funny stuff that used to happen, which actually encouraged us to like think differently, to question ourselves, to question assumptions, and really engage with the world around us. The value that school actually emphasized on the fairness, humility, and hard work, everything worked out very well. Everything gave us the motive to actually go ahead and then fight for what we want to and where we are today. So those seeds, those small seeds like confidence, curiosity, and integrity have grown into the cornerstone of who I am today.
Yeah, it's lovely to hear that, and it's amazing how small things end up changing our life. So let's talk about your journey into law. Was it always the plan, or did the idea evolve over time through internships, conversations, or certain subjects? I want to hear each of your stories.
So, for me, it's a very funny story. I've always in school, like I don't know why I always had the inclination to speak like oration, like be it anything like it meant like on stage talking, like I was there. So that was me in school. And funnily enough, I think it was around 10th grade or so. I watched this English show called The Good Wife. So The Good Wife is about, about a woman who later on rediscovers her career, which she lost, and she's able to support her family through, she's a lawyer, and that's how she's able to support her family through turbulent times. I have I don't know how and why, but that's some way like that inspired me a lot. So I was thinking like if for a woman who quit her career and then family going through turbulent times and like she's restarting her career like after couple of years and she's able to provide for her family and like that I felt like that was empowerment. So I felt like law would give me that empowerment that that woman had in that series in that show. So funnily enough, that's how I started getting inclined. And also I think when I was in 11th grade, I think we had this I'm forgetting what it's called. So basically, you input, they ask you a couple of questions and then like you input like what you like and what you dislike, and then they give you possible career options. I'm forgetting what it's called. I think they even had like a software.
Aptitude test, something that
Sorry.
we all took. It was an
Yeah, yeah.
aptitude test that we all took.
Yeah,
Yeah,
an
yeah.
aptitude test that resulted in what could be your possible career options. So for me, funnily enough, it was like lawyer, like, working in MUN and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, there are too many pointers that I give and pointing to the career that I should be picking. And that's how I ended up picking law. So that's the story about that.
Yeah, it's also weird to get to know that a movie decided your career. Uh, Kanya or Hiranmayee, anyone can go next.
Okay. So, how I took law, honestly, I do not have an idea. So, everybody that I knew, so I think your sister would relate, like in 10th grade, like our closest friends, I think apart from me and your sister, 9 other people are today doctors. So, they were all like, by 10th grade, they were like, I'm going to become a doctor. And that is one thing I really did not want to do. I'm not really fond of doing it. it's hard. It's as hard as law. One of my roommates is a doctor, and I'm like, I am so glad that I did not take up this profession because the schedule is way more haywire than this. So me and my dad, we were discussing options. So my dad comes up with weird ideas. So he sees something, he'll be like, do you want to do this? If he sees a different movie, he'll be like, do you want to do this? So I don't know where it started. So suddenly we were discussing, and then he was like, do you want to do law? And then we were like, okay, we'll check it out. And in 10th grade, it was a vague idea that I'm going to do law, that I'm maybe may take up meat, but law was a very vague idea back then. So we went and joined a coaching class. That's all happened. I joined it, and then nothing else happened. And in 11th grade, so nobody in my family is an advocate. So I went to a family friend. He used to take all these classes for CLAT and everything. So he is an advocate. I was there for a month. So I left CLAT and then I started working for him. I was like an intern for him. So it just started as that. And I was like, I like doing this. So we thought about it. And then me and my dad, we were like, okay, fine, we'll do law. And if you want to write like some other exam or UPSC or any state exams that you want to take, law is a very good background to do. So that was the initial idea behind law. And then I wrote CLAT, LSAT, and all those things. I did not know what half those things were. And then I joined Jindal, and I was like, no, I do not want to do this. I'm not suited for the North Indian lifestyle. So I came back to, I think I joined SASTRA. It was like two different extremes of life. And what happened was I took up internships. So we mandatorily have to do like 9 internships or something. We get intern breaks. So I did my internships with various people, public prosecutors, government leaders, and then one was completely corporate, firms, and all those stuff. It was interesting. So I was like, there is so much to do. So even today, if you ask us, do you want to specialize in a field or is there something specific you want to do? I get a bit lost because the opportunities that we have in this field, the amount of exposure that you can get, the number of specializations that there are is vast. So even today, I'm completely into the corporate environmental law and related criminal field. But even today, I take up different matters just to keep in touch with the various things that are. It's always interesting. You never get to do the same thing again. So that's how I came into law entirely.
Yeah, it's lovely to hear all of that. And when I heard your dad's story, I can only relate to Shivakarthikeyan from Don movie
Oh,
because
no, no.
whatever.
My dad from 5th grade, everything he sees, he'll be like, even when I was in third year law, he asked, do you want to stop and do MBBS? My dad is like that. He will confuse me at every single point.
Yeah.
So he watches a movie, it's like he will watch a movie and then he won't want to do it. He'll be like, he'll watch a movie and he'll be like, do you want to do it? So that's my dad. Every time he sees something, he'll be like, should you do this?
Yeah. Hiranmayee R, do you want to share your story?
Yeah, so to be honest, law wasn't my plan at all. Like, at least consciously, I never wanted to do, or I never thought of it like that. But growing up, I always had different interests. I loved writing. I thought if I should become content writer. I was fascinated by history and politics, so I thought if I should maybe get into civil service. I loved fighting, so maybe defense. And so yeah, I had like a bunch of ideas that I always wanted to try. But I think systems and people were always in my mind. And that was always a part of me that was drawing me to like structure and logic, but I didn't quite realize it. That it was actually pointing towards law until later. So it was during the later years of high school that I suddenly began exploring law more curiously. It was towards the end of our board exams when I'd applied for CLAT, LSAT, and all the possible exams that I could think of. And then I took up a coaching in Chennai. I was there for like 2 months taking up coaching for CLAT. And during that time was when I was fascinated by how this whole process works and how like the judges reason through complex social and economic issues and all that. So during college, I began taking up internships, and so I explored my hand in everything, litigation in all fields, then IP, corporate, everything, and then somehow I landed here. But I think the combination of logic and the real world impact is what truly draw me in. So yes, that's how this became a dream job for me.
Okay, we'll move on to the next question. So, what entrance exams did you guys consider? CLAT, IELTS, and how did you decide which colleges to apply to? What were you all really looking for in a law school?
So for me, obviously every law aspirant looks at CLAT and like getting into NLSIO, NALSAR, and like everyone's hopeful for that. So my main focus was obviously trying to crack the CLAT and like get into one of the national law colleges. And so like Hiranmayee had mentioned, like I'd also like taken up coaching and in Chennai specifically, and then like I was doing my prep for CLAT and whatnot. But unfortunately, I couldn't like I didn't get the college I wanted. I got like I did get placed into a couple of national law schools, but it wasn't what I wanted. So alternatively, I was like trying to look at like colleges, like so from there I started looking into private colleges. So private colleges now being like Symbiosis and like Christ were like the top, like at least for me to consider. Jindal also is one of the good private colleges, but somehow like I felt like Christ would be a better option, and being in Bangalore and all. And so for to get into Christ, so they have a complete, like they have their own entrance exams, they have their own process that is to be followed. And I applied for Christ entrance exam, and I took it up. So when I prepared for the entrance exam in Christ, I figured it was like very similar, or very, it was easier for me because it was very similar to what like asks you for. So like my CLAT prep like really helped me like, to like, crack at least the Christ entrance examination. So for me personally, I only looked at CLAT and it was nothing else. So it was only CLAT, and like, it was the other one was like the Christ entrance examination, because I couldn't like, get the top colleges that I wanted. That's how I went about my prep. So especially for CLAT, I think I also did the same, like the crash course thing. But there are so many people who like prep for like 2 years even. So they start from their 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. They go everyday classes. They do that. You have your 1 year programs and all of it. So unfortunately for me, like I wasn't like, even though like in 11th grade I knew what I wanted, I knew like maybe law is an option that I had to pursue. It was always a question mark for me back then. So I wasn't like very serious until my board exams got over. Then I was like, okay, I need to like really buckle down and like actually prep for it, because it's really one of the toughest entrance exams, at least for undergrad level. It's really one of the toughest exams in India. So that's when like I buckled down and I was like, I have to do it. So these were the only two entrance exams that I looked at.
Okay. Dhanya, do you want to share?
Yeah. So, like Rupika said, it was just a question mark that I didn't know whether I'm going to do it or not. So I never really prepped. I think we're all talking about Sriram, a 1 month crash course. That's what I also did. And Disha was in fact, my classmate in Sriram, a 1 month crash course. So what happened was I had no clue. That is the first time I'm opening a textbook. I didn't know what CLAT was or anything of that sort. And strangely, the mistake that I made. So back then, you have to put like your preference of colleges, and then you cannot change it. Back then, I think now they have an option to change or something. So I put up my application for CLAT, and obviously I didn't bother doing a research of what law college is what. I just put NLSIU, Nalsar, and I left Gujarat off the list, and I just entered some random law colleges, and I got the marks to get into the college that I wanted. But because I didn't put my preference list properly and I had the marks, my third preference came up. I actually wanted a different college that was maybe lower in my preference list, but because I had the marks, I just went straight up. I didn't want that college and I couldn't change it at that point in time. So it's like, there's no way I'm doing I'm joining an NLS National Law School now because I cannot be satisfied with that. So it's like, okay, fine, I'll go to Jindal. So I think I had like a scholarship or something. So I joined Jindal back then. So I joined and they were like, it's 5 years residential, you have to be here. There is no transport from the airport to there. And I was like, I don't want to do this. I'm not very comfortable in this place. And my Hindi is crappy. Like nobody else can understand it other than me. So I was like, I don't want to get into Jindal. So we came back and then I joined SASTRA. SASTRA was always just a backup option. I never really realized that this is what I'm going to do. So and then, so SASTRA is, I think, just CLAT and board marks combined together. They put out a list. So I got in all honesty, all my friends were there at SASTRA. It was a big motivation for me to like shift colleges. So I had shifted here. And in a manner of speaking, I feel like had I been practicing in Supreme Court, maybe Jindal would have been a very good option for me. But because I'm practicing down here in down south, I think the best option is to do your undergrad in somewhere down south, because at the end of the day, your entire network is there in court for you. I feel the same is true for School of Excellence, Sastra, Christ. It's a concentration of different batches down here in Madras High Court. So I feel like my networking and connections are much better because I did my undergrad in somewhere around the area where I want to practice. So if I'm going to look at litigation, the best option would be to pursue the undergrad in the areas in which you would prefer to practice. Had I done something in general today, I would not have known anybody in Madras High Court. That is as far as it goes.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Hiranmayee Akka, can you
Yeah.
share your story?
So like many aspiring law students back then, even I considered all these government exams, CLAT, LSAT, and all that. But my motive was clearly private law college because I wanted to major in business. I was quite sure about that before I joined law school. So my focus was always on private law colleges. I still gave these exams and got into a bunch of national law colleges, but I didn't want to take them up only because of my interest in business laws. So I spent quite a bit of time researching on these colleges and understanding what each program offered and speaking to seniors who I found on LinkedIn and through mutual. Even Rupika was one of my approaches before I went into law college. She was the one who motivated me, saying, "Don't give up yet. Just keep trying, and you'll get in somewhere." And so yeah, these people like actually told me how to go about with choosing my colleges. Christ University was more about not just ranking, but it was about the kind of lawyer that I wanted to become. During that time, there was a fight between Christ and Simbi to decide who comes as the top college. But I think when I joined, it was Symbiosis Law School. I got into the Hyderabad campus and then I really didn't want to try a new city. So I was like, okay, let's just get into Bangalore. I knew I wanted to study in a place that valued both academic rigor and holistic development. And I think Christ stood out for that. It offered a very strong curriculum and also a lot of opportunities for like moots, debates, internships, and other leadership roles as well. And Bangalore as a city meant access to like great internship opportunities and a vibrant legal network. And since I told you I had already decided that I was not going to do litigation and my focus was totally on like a company, Bangalore was really the place that helped me explore all these options. It gave me the different kind of environment and helped me grow as a person as well. So Christ was, I think, the right choice. Leaving aside flat and everything for me to explore, evolve, and find my voice. And yeah, I'd always I wouldn't want to change anything that happened after.
Okay, so it's nice to hear all of that. So what I can get from what you three shared is that it isn't just about the college name, but about fit and growth. So Rupika, you choose Christ University in Bangalore, known for its strong academic foundation and vibrant student life. What stood out about your experience there, both inside and outside the classroom?
Like I just mentioned, like Christ was never my first option. It wasn't for lack of options I went there, but it was almost like my second or third option that, and then it led me to Christ. So Christ as such for me was very helpful in the fact that, like Hiran also mentioned, like, they give you a lot of like importance for a holistic development. It's not just like, not just like marks or like, not just academic research or not just academics, like be it like, how they let us like do a lot of internships with internship breaks. And then we had so many moods, like so many conferences, and like where you got to like, either host it, be part of it, like so many events, like I can't even, that's how, like I can't even name it, like that's how many we used to have in a year. So this gave me a lot of exposure towards the cultural aspect as well. So Bangalore being like, a typical metropolitan city, we had like people from various cultures, various states, and like, actually, contrary to what Danya had mentioned, right now in Chennai, like maybe if I had chosen Shastra or like, the TNLS, like maybe I would have a lot of people to network with, because in Christ, like right now, like when I'm like in the profession, there are very few people from Christ that I meet. Like it's very, very handful. Like, so that's how like vibrant and like that's how like diverse the social culture is there in at least Christ. So what that helps you to do is understand about like other cultures. Like my best friends, like for example, like from college, none of them are Tamilians or none of them are Tamil Nadu or Telugite for even that matter. They're all from different language, different culture. They all come from a different socioeconomic background. That gives you a lot of perspective as to how each of them have been brought up, how what each of them go through. This directly translates into legal profession specifically. You have a better understanding about what the client goes through. Like if they're from a particular, socioeconomic background, you would be able to relate with them better. Say like, okay, you will understand certain struggles even if you hadn't gone through it. Like because you have experience, you would understand like your clients better. So that aspect of it was like very important that I learned from Christ. And also moods and like trials. So from the beginning, unfortunately, moods didn't like intrigue me, and it was the criminal trials that it really intrigued me. Completely contrary to what I'm like practicing right now. But in college, like trials like really intrigued me, and like I participated in a lot of trials. I represented the college in like a couple of rounds, and that that stage for to let you explore and like do what you want, because I was one of the very few who chose trials over moot. Like moot was like more of the conventional option, like, and I was very few. And so but the college like let me do it, like they didn't like restrict me saying like, oh no, you have to choose moots, nothing of that sorts. So it was more like an all round development, all round experience, exposure. And actually, and also Bangalore being a very vibrant, socially vibrant city, like that also gave me a lot of space to explore who I was. So like I knew what I liked, what I disliked, and there were so many things that I rediscovered myself like in Bangalore, because I was all alone, like I was like trying to make it. And so it was Christ University plus Bangalore has resulted in this weird combination of who I am. So that's how it helped me.
Okay, it sounds like it gave you the best of both worlds, the balance between academics and everything else. So it shaped you in more ways than just professionally. So, Dhanya Dheekshitha, you pursued law at SASTRA University, and today you appear before the Madras High Court in various tribunals in matters ranging from IBC to cybercrime. To you, Dhanya Dheekshitha, what did your university experience teach you, both about profession and about yourself?
Okay, so as far as Sastra was concerned, it was a very, very strict law school. So whatever we wanted, we had to like make a huge deal out of it, fight for very simple things with the administration and all those stuff. So it sort of builds resilience in you. You're like, you never take no for an answer because you know the first answer you get is going to be a no. So you learn to like, what do you say? You learn to like go away from the no and then like slightly turn it into an yes and then do whatever you want to do. And honestly, I got interested into doing the Sastra. Like we had one amazing mooting coach. So his subject knowledge till date impresses me to the boot. So what really made me do moot was the only way I could get OD and then not go to college. So and then still satisfy my attendance. So that got me into moot. And like Rupikaa said, strangely half the moot I did was trial moots. The moots that I participated in organizing were trial moots. The moot. So every year we used to the seniors, the final years will conduct something an intra moot competition. It's in basically you have so many different competitions, client counseling. Client counseling and all is very interesting. You sit with the client and then you pull out the information from them. They don't tell you. So you have to ask the questions to bring out the information from them. So there are different activities that you do in a law school. And strangely, every time I was only in something that was related to criminal law. I was there in the trial committee, trial witness committee, trial organizing committee. It was one thing that like intrigues you when you go into the field because it's the most interesting thing you have witnessed. Cross examination is everything you see in movies. So if you want to do something you see in movies, you have to go to trial court. That is the reality because appellate courts and constitutional courts, it's just like you speak for hours in an end. There's nothing interesting per se. Like, but after you get into the field, obviously you will start getting that interest. And as far as Sastra was concerned, we also had a lot of internship opportunities. So like every semester we get a 1 month break to do our internship, and everybody I knew used to do it in different places. Some did in so the central government has an option. You can do internships with them, with the parliament. Some did it in UN. Some did it. Most of them will do it with judges. And there are so many different fields that people used to get into. It was always interesting to come back to college and listen to like where people went. Like everybody had a different choice when they went into an internship. The diversity in choices alone sometimes like fascinated me so much. The people with whom I have no link in my personality, we used to take up the same internships. And people who were similar to me, like my close friends, they used to go to different countries, different cities, and all this to take up their internships. In that way, I think I was exposed to so many different options. And city wise, honestly, I do not prefer the city. And I think it's the networking part that actually is very good from Sastra, because today if I get into Madras High Court, half the people I see are from my college, my batchmates, my juniors, even my colleagues for that matter. I think 3 or 4 of my colleagues are from Sastra. Different batches, I don't know them. And Sastra also has a very, very good alumni network. They have groups, and so every Sastra alumni who's practicing in Madras High Court, we are all in a group together. So every time I have a doubt, it may be a very silly doubt that I really do not want to go to my senior and ask because I feel dumb about asking it. I just post it in the group. And then my seniors or who has already handled those matters, we discuss and they help me out. It makes the process of, like, when transitioning into the profession a bit easier. So once you get into it, you'll be able to realize. But the initial phase, I really have to give it to that alumni network that I had. And other than that, I think we never had optional subjects in Sastra. Every subject was mandatory. It was irritating at the start because you have to study like everything. I don't have to. Even BCI does not mandate me to study so many things. But then I realized, so I'm completely into the IBC field right now. IBC was a mandatory subject for me. Had it been an optional subject, I swear I wouldn't have taken it because it on paper it's probably the most dry subject on earth. So because I had to mandatorily study it, once I started getting into the field, it was easier. And that's actually I learned it at that point that in a lot of colleges subjects are optional. I didn't even know. Through 5 years of college, I didn't know these subjects are actually optional subjects because our syllabus is like pre-made and then just shoved upon us. We don't have options. Environmental law, IBC, special statutes, everything is mandatory for us. IPR. So I think in that way, it has given me sort of like a good exposure because now I know at least some basic principles of these things. Because I'm into IBC, I am into IPR, I am into environmental law, and all those optional subjects is the one that I'm primarily dealing with right now. So in that manner, I think when I was studying law, it was irritating. I had to study so many subjects. But then after I came here, I realized basic principles change so much. It's good to have at least a basic or a fair idea of different things. It's like gives you that diversity and holistic approach in handling a matter. So in that way, Sastra really helped me. And apart from that, city-wise, no. Like the semester in college, no. I really do not appreciate that part. The intern breaks, yes. Maybe that is what shaped me, gave me different ideas of what I want to do, and then just push me into doing this. Even today, the field that I am in, I never wanted to do IBC or environmental law or IPR, as a matter of fact. So these all I did because randomly I went into an internship. I didn't even know what it was. I was like, okay, fine, let me do this internship. One of my seniors was there. It's like, okay, it might be a good choice. I got a pre-placement offer, and that's how I entered into the field that I am in today. So in that manner, I think internships play a really good part. You don't have to do it sincerely, but you have to like go there and see so that you know the different things that are there.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. I like how you've tied it back to resilience, not just learning the law, but learning how to carry yourself through challenges. So the next question is to Hiranmayee. You studied at Christ University as well, and later pursued your LLM in International Commercial Law at the University of Bristol. What shifted for you between your undergraduate and postgraduate program, and how did each stage shape your legal lens?
So for me, the biggest shift I would say was in the mindset. During my undergraduate years in Christ, I was focused on understanding the fundamentals, the Indian laws, case laws, the procedures, the application of statutes, and like the basic stuff. It laid the groundwork for me. It was the foundational and it grounded me to the core elements of legal practices. But when I moved to pursue my LLM in international commercial law, the focus just changed. The emphasis was more on critical thinking, interpretation, and like comparative analysis, looking at how different jurisdictions address the same issues and how international commerce interacts with domestic regulations. And the reason that I chose England was because we kind of follow England's law because we were ruled by the British. And so even if I was uh, applying what I studied there in India, it was going to be more useful for me. It also expanded my perspective significantly. I was no longer just thinking about how the Indian legal system was working. So I started reading the European Union, understanding the international arbitration framework, and thinking about cross-border contracts and cross-border dealings and all that. The exposure to a global peer group, seasoned faculty, and a different legal culture made me more made me a more agile thinker, I'd say. Each stage added a new layer, undergrad built the foundation. Postgrad gave me the tools to operate across borders and think more strategically. But both experiences have shaped my legal identity in their own ways, and it's given me the personality that I am today.
Okay, that's a great way of putting it. So let's move on to the next question. So the courtroom is often imagined as dramatic objections, arguments, emotional appeals, but what it is actually like. What are the unglamorous but essential parts of being a lawyer? I'd like each of you to share your take on this.
Okay, one of the main aspect I think all of them would agree with is one of the major unglamorous part of the legal profession is your ability to just stay strong. Like, see, every day is a battle. Like, literally every day is a battle. Be it between, getting drafts out in time, be it, interacting with your clients on time, and like, dealing with, sort of like putting up with your tantrums, even maybe, and, getting there. I mean, especially in the litigation field, going there, facing the judge, and then the judge asking you multiple questions, and you have to like really think on your feet and then be able to answer it. And if you don't, he's going to insult you in front of everyone. He or she is going to insult you in front of everyone. So like you need to like be able to learn to accept that. Like you'll have to throw away, like if you're going to feel embarrassed about something, that's definitely out the window. Like from day one, it's definitely out of the window, because you'd like be insulted in so many different ways. Because I think this is such a dynamic field. Like every day there's something new to learn. Like even the greatest of the lawyers, even the best of judges, they still don't know everything. So there are a lot of aspects that you get to learn each and every single day that you go, and then you're like, oh, this can be done this way, this can be done that way. Oh, why didn't I think of that? Like, why didn't I think of this? Excuse me. So because of how dynamic the field is, you need to be on your toes every single second of your life in the profession. That's extremely important. So these are the unglamorous parts that you don't see in the movies, where and the other major part, you don't get to like talk to the judge that way. Half the time. Half the time the judges just don't have time for you. They're just like, yeah, what do you want? Just like get done with it and just like leave. I need to get on with my other cases, is what half the time that happens. So half the time the judges don't give you the time of the day, and you need to be able to get your point across in that 3 minutes. Like it's going to be literally 3 to 5 minutes. You need to like establish your point, what you want to say, what the case is about, and like just like move on. So these are the like main differences that like you can see. And like Dhanya had mentioned some time back that you don't have like any last minute evidence, and you're like, oh, surprise. Yeah, I mean, there are possibilities where you can get it, but it doesn't translate that way necessarily. Any last minute evidence, like you see in the movies, they come up with a document saying, oh, this document is there. No, you'll have to put an additional document application that will come off a counter, that will go on, that will be argued, and all of that happens. Like by the time like you get that additional document on record, it's few months has already gone by. So that's like that amuses me. In fact, I'm like every nowadays, like whenever I see movies where they describe like how a lawyer is, or they describe court scenes, I just loudly, and I'm like, no, it's not like that. I just like see myself like loudly doing it, and like I see my friends like cross checking with me. I'm like, is that how it happens? I'm like, no. I don't have an easy time. Like it's never easy. So like I said, like the most unglamorous parts of this profession is that you have to be on your toes. Every day is a battle, and any slightest feeling of embarrassment, out of the window. No ego, no thinking. I know everything, because you may be the highest earning lawyer, and you will still not know a lot of things. So your appetite to learn is also a majorly unglamorous part of this profession, I would say.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. And it's very surprising to know that judges insult lawyers because it's something that is not shown in movies.
Yeah.
Dhanya Kaur, Hiranmayee R.
Okay, I share Rupika's pain regarding the additional documents. Sometimes I just lose it. I'm like, what is your problem? And it is true. We get blasted so much. So once I took up a VC hearing, I was home for a personal exigency, and then I had to take it up on VC. And then I got blasted. My mother was sitting across, and then she was like, is this what you want to do? Is this why you're living in a different city? I thought your profession was entirely different. So you learn to make that thick skin. And as Rupika said, within 3 minutes, you should get to the facts, you should get to the judgment, you should convince the judge, and it should translate into an order that you actually want, which is very hard for them to give you the time of the day and to listen. So you learn to push, you learn to take an insult, and half the time, if you don't do something, it's going to be a blast fest. It can last for anywhere between 3 minutes to 30 minutes. So, and the moment it's the problem is not getting blasted. The moment it ends and you walk out, all the people you know are there, and they're like, "What happened?" And like, "Did you not see? I just got blasted for 30 minutes." You should ask, "What happened?" is a question. So that part is there. You learn to get a thick skin, you learn to run around. So there is nothing sure about the schedule you have. You might think this is all I'm going to do tomorrow, and then tomorrow suddenly somebody would have filed a petition or an application, and you should be ready within an hour or 30 minutes from knowing what it is. Sometimes not knowing what it is also, you have to be there, be present, and do something to ensure that whatever you want gets translated into the order. And I think the most unglamorous part maybe would be the lack of time or the poor scheduling that you have. You're always running around, there's no time for you. And sort of into the field, you learn to manage your time somehow, but on most occasions, so our time is not ours. We first have to realize that first part. It's our senior, the senior counsel that we are briefing, the client's time. So all these people have to coordinate into a single time to sit into a meeting, which means your time is the last priority. That never happens. So when that gets fixed, there's no option for you to say a no. I have seen, my senior has taken a hearing when he was in Himachal, when he was in States. So it's like, no matter where you are, if that comes up, you have to put down things and to take it up and finish it. So there's a lot of coordinating that goes on. You should never get tired of coordinating with people. Sometimes it's frustrating because you have to talk to so many people for such a simple thing, and to get it done, you lose half your hair. So yeah, that part. So you should never shy away. The unglamorous part maybe is not shying away from interacting with people. You have to go in without a knowledge of who they are, what they are, and you always have to be respectful because you do not know who those people are half the time. And you should always be ready to learn because today, if I confidently say this is how it's going to happen, tomorrow a judgment may come, an amendment may come, so it all goes away. So I have to learn it afresh. You should be ready. You should be mentally prepared, and you should always be mentally strong because you're going to go through so much. Obviously, you're going to make mistakes, you're going to get blasted, and you learn to get the tough skin. So I have one of my seniors is practicing in Supreme Court. So he used to tell me when he first joined his office, his senior just used to throw the papers away. So no matter what assignment you get, when you submit the first assignment, he's not going to look at it, he'll just throw it in your face. That is just to check the amount of resilience you have. In a manner of speaking, it is traumatizing, but then you learn to be strong. In the mornings, you're like, do I really want to do this? And you're like, yes, you have to do this today, and you just go ahead.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. And what I can understand from what you guys said was being a lawyer is a difficult job, but you guys are doing great in that field. Hiranmayee Akka, can you share your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so this part, like they said, is definitely what they don't show in legal dramas or movies or anything. The truth is, a lot of legal work is unglamorous. It's meticulous, it's repetitive, and sometimes mentally exhausting. For every moment of courtroom argument or like exciting negotiations, there are days spent reviewing clauses, checking compliance checklists, editing drafts over and over again, and like following up with multiple stakeholders. There are also tight timelines that we follow, and like how Danya said, we are always lagging time, especially in say any field of law for that matter, where decisions should have been made yesterday, but they come to you like today morning and they're like, yeah, what's the thing pending? Tell me quickly, and you're expected to give flawless advice under pressure in like a second. So there are also a lot of reading, dense contracts, outdated statutes, multiple case precedents, and everything has to be shown attention in detail. One missed word can change the liability of an entire case itself. I remember once spending an entire day just proofreading cross-border share purchase agreement with over like 300 pages. It's not glamorous, but essential, and you had to do it in like a few hours. And then there's also the emotional side. The need to stay calm under pressure, to manage expectations, to explain things that clients or like teams, other business teams might not want to hear. Is this not about being legally correct? It's about like building trust and then binding both legality and the trust together. So yes, law has its highlights. It's posh to look from outside, but most of it is about consistency, commitment, and showing up every day like these two said, and like staying with the same level of focus every day. The glamour lies in the impact, but not in the process.
Okay, so it's nice to hear all of that. And that's a great reality check. So it's not all drama, it's preparation, patience, and paperwork. So, okay, finally, what would you say to a student who's curious about law but unsure where to begin? What small steps in school, reading, writing, observing, can help them explore this path? I'd like each of you to share one piece of advice.
I think, from what we've said about the unglamorous part of the profession, I feel like the students should take an informed choice. Like, do they want to be in a space where they don't have a work life balance? So these are conscious decisions they have to take. Yes, all professions, all any career option that you take has its pros and cons. Like, you need to weigh your decisions. You see, what sort of lifestyle do you want to be leading? Like, you can draw inspiration from your parents, your relatives, or like, adults in the real world. Draw inspiration from them. See what they did. Is that something you want to do? Then make an informed choice about what is the downside to that career, like, what's the positives to the career. Then you should make an informed choice. Contrary to what actually I did, technically oration is not everything. Like, you don't need to be the best speaker. That is not it is just one of the requirements, but it's not the only requirement. So if you're actually considering a profession in law, you need to be, I think the main things that you will have to self analyze to see if you fit that bracket is, if do you have those analytical skills. That is one of the major, I think the most important thing. Like, do you have that analytical skills? Like, if someone gives you a problem, would you be able to break it down into simpler parts? And like, even if you don't actually find the solution, do you have the mental durability to actually work towards it no matter what? Would you be consistent in your approach? Would you go over and over and over and again? Like, would you, like, would you, like, you need to be like, I'm sorry, please. Yeah, you need to be like over and over, like, go at the problem again and again and again. So these are like the most important things that you need to analyze, that you have these aspects in you. If you have these aspects in you, then like, I think it's a good option, that a career option that you can consider. And of course, like I mentioned, like, taking up CLAT coaching and LSAT and all of it is a non-negotiable, unless maybe you want to do like an undergrad right away abroad. But these are like non-negotiable that you need to, like, look up and study. In subjects in school as such, focus more on the English, which helps you with the drafting skills, your grammar. Because, like, like Hiranmayee just mentioned, like, even a small is, a small was, a small comma is extremely important. And when it comes to drafting, like, it can, one small comma can, like, literally change the liability on like the other party to another. So that's how important it is. So like, focus on like subjects like English, learn your grammar, get your basics right, know when to use, like, say for instance an Oxford comma, which is rarely used. Learn that, know where to use it. And so get your basics right in English. And with possibly, your socio-economic subjects is what you can focus on as well. And like, so because I do commercial law, so like for me, understanding business was also important. So like, probably listening to Thomas's lecture on like business management, and that also like really helps. So it really depends on what sort of person you want to be in the future. What is the lifestyle that you're expecting, money wise, time wise, leisure wise? What is the lifestyle you're expecting? Focus on that, self analyze, and then make an informed choice.
Okay, it's really lovely to hear that. Danya, can you go next?
Okay. So, as far as an advice in law is concerned, any profession is not going to be all flowers and rainbows. It's going to have its own downsides. So, if they want to pursue a career in law, they should concentrate not just on the benefits or pros of it. You make a detailed list of pros and cons and decide whether you want to go ahead with it. So, the cons might be one, the financial remuneration. If you're going to be in litigation, in all honesty, if you're first generation and you're going to start your litigation part, it will be below industry standards, and whereas in corporate, obviously. So you should make an informed choice about the financial remuneration that you're going to get, and then you should have that resilience to go ahead with it. it is going to be hard. So you need to have a reality check of what it is going to be. And then thirdly, you have to be able to understand the basic principles or concepts. It's not about getting good marks. It does not matter. It's about how well you perform under pressure. So if you have a good knack to perform under pressure, if your ability to handle people actually plays a great part. So you should not shy away from handling people. So there are different types of people in the legal fraternity. There are academics who are introverts, extroverts who just network with people. So different kind of personalities come into law. So your personality as such, do not say my personality will not suit law. That is not the reality. Any personality will suit this profession. So what you have to see is what you really want to do, what do you expect out of this profession. Make a list of pros and cons. Talk to people who are actually in this profession. So the movie part and the drama part are completely different from what we do in the real life scenario. So my advice is talk to people, make your list of pros and cons, be ready to commit, because it's going to be a great commitment. And law is a very jealous mistress, so you are going to have to put into that effort lifelong. You will always be learning, you will always be investing in that effort, and it is true for any profession you take. You should always be ready to learn new stuff. So like Rupika said, if you're into commercial law and there's a certain business transaction that you have to understand, you have to learn the business. So if you're into insolvency and there are different, businesses that are coming in and you're going to represent them, you are not just law, but you're going to have to learn the business part as well. So you have to learn accounts, you have to learn accounting if you're going to argue a point on accounting. You have to learn thermodynamics, in all honesty, if you're going to argue patents. So don't just look at the words that describe law, just read into what it means. The one mistake I see a lot of people doing is they just read the first heading: arbitration, IPR. These all sound fancy. It sounds fancy, but then you have to understand what it really takes to go into this profession. You have to prepare yourself for these things. So that's my only advice.
Whatever you said, because students focus on getting good marks and then actually understanding the concept. So we don't have a next.
Yeah, so I'd say if you're even a little bit curious about law, my first advice would be follow that curiosity. You don't have to decide right away, but you don't need to have all the answers right now as well. Start by just exploring, read like opinion pieces on legal issues in maybe newspapers, blogs, watch legal documentaries, maybe attend a court session. Now it's become even more easy to attend court sessions when they're available online. Observe how arguments are made, how the judges respond, how they interact with each other, how law plays a role with everyday life in aspects of every person. One of the best things you can do in school is to develop your ability to think, not just memorize. Law regards clarity, it regards structuring and curiosity. So, practical writing, journalizing, debating, and importantly, listening, all these actually shape the person. So, when you listen closely to a story, to a conflict, or a case, you learn how to ask the right questions. Also, I'd say never be afraid of complexity, because what all of us said may be overwhelming. Law can be intimidating at first, but the more you explore, the more you realize that it's just about people and principles. And if those things excite you even a little, then that's enough to begin with, I'd say. So my advice would be to take the first step. You don't have to know where the path leads, but you have to start walking at least.
Okay, it's nice to hear that. Thank you for sharing. And thank you so much, Ms. Rupikaa, Ms. Dhanya Dheekshitha, and Ms. Hiranmayee. I've loved how this conversation showed the human side of being a lawyer, not just the wins, but the choices, the doubts, and the small moments that keep you going. To everyone watching, this was Voices of CS, where we bring you real stories from alumni who once sat in the same classrooms and asked the same questions as you do now. And today we have seen how the law isn't just about courtrooms, it's about listening, questioning, standing your ground, and speaking up for what's right. Until next time, keep asking questions, keep seeking the truth, and never be afraid to use your voice.